Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Hartford Whalers expansion franchise here on NHL 24. In the last episode, we concluded the regular season, which saw us. We took a live look-in on a 3-2 victory against Calgary, but then we dropped our last two games, 3-1 to the Devils, 5-1 to the Penguins, and we did take our first look-in at our AHL squad as we honed in on Daniil Chaika, who had a phenomenal game, our newly acquired defensive prospect. So in this episode, obviously, the Hartford Whalers are not in playoff contention. We'll just kind of recap the season. It should be a shorter episode. So we'll start off here just looking at our stat leaders. And of course, Patrick Kane paved the way in stats, leading with 77, 20 ahead of Andrew Mangiapane, who sat there at 57. They were both tied, leading the team with 39 assists. And now we'll go to just goals leaders, as Kane had 38, and Victor Arvidsson was the only other player on the team who managed to eclipse 20. Then Mangiapane, Compher, Zadina, Leo Carlsson had 13 in his rookie season, tied there with Scott Laughton. And then Tyson Barrie, both defensemen, had 9. Assist leaders, Mangiapane tied with Kane, as we said. Victor Arvidsson there with 31. He was third on the team with 51 points. Scott Laughton, 27 assists. Philip Zadina, 24, tied there with Compher. Leo Carlsson, 23 assists in his rookie season. And then Ceci led all defensemen with 20 assists. Points, I kind of just skimmed down here. We already talked about Kane, Mangiapane, and Arvidsson. Now, JT Compher with 41, fourth on the team. And then Zadina and Laughton tied for fifth with 40 points. Leo Carlsson, a solid rookie season here with 13 goals, 23 assists. And I would expect a big upgrade next season, a big improvement, as he came into the year 76 overall, and he does end at a 78. So I would expect him to come into next season at least an 80 overall, as Tyson Barrie, our leading point getter, as far as defensemen go, with 27. And then Orlov and Foligno tied with 26. Jake Evans, 23 points. And Nolan Patrick played 62 games, 15 points. So not the best showing from Nolan Patrick here, although I think he does still have a little bit of room to grow with that elite low potential. Connor McMichael, he's seen 54 games, 12 points. He didn't really put it together. He didn't really put many points together until his last half a game, so hopefully he takes that into next season. And then Mackenzie Entwistle, 19 games here to end the season. 4 goals, most of those coming in his last 6 to 8 games, so he really got it going. And Alexander Nylander, Jacob Larson, and Tyler Tucker, all guys who had 20 games or less here. Jacob Larson was our rotational D-man most of the season. He ends with a +4, so not a bad result there. And he actually had our only only a positive +- here. And then Mangiapane, Orlov, Nylander, all with -2, which is very respectable here on this team. And then Patrick Kane, you see there, led with the worst, tied with Cody Ceci, each at -20. Penalty minutes, Marcus Foligno well led the way there, as he more than doubled our next, who was Scott Laughton. Foligno ends with an even 100 penalty minutes, and I think he committed a penalty in that last episode that we saw. So that was his last penalty of the season for an even 100 penalty minutes. Patrick Kane's 6 game-winning goals paved the way. Tyson Barrie's 6 power play goals. We have a defenseman leading in power play goals in Philip Zadina with 5. Leo Carlsson, 4 power play goals. Patrick Kane led in power play points at 17, and Mangiapane a little bit behind him with only 12. And we did have 2 shorthanded goals this season, one from Compher and one from Arvidsson. And then time on ice, 24-47 time on ice. Barrie led by almost a minute over Dmitry Orlov. And as you would assume, Patrick Kane led our forwards in time on ice, followed by Compher, Mangiapane, and Arvidsson. Face-off percentage, I don't think this one's going to be pretty for us. Scott Laughton, very, very good at pretty much 56%. And then our next guy, Jake Evans, was there just over 50, kind of in the same territory there with JT Compher. And then McMichael, Patrick, and Foligno, and Leo Carlsson there at a putrid 43.9%. So, improving our centerman is definitely a priority here this offseason. I see Scott Laughton led our team in hits. He was among the league leaders, followed there by JT Compher. Block shots, Dmitry Orlov, 104. Tyson Barrie with 103. CC, Stanley Brown, and Mangiapane led all forwards with block shots. Marcus Foligno, 13 fights. No one else really fought on this team. 2 from Josh Brown, 1 there from Scott Lawton. As now we'll get a quick look at our goalies. And Matt Murray, 19-29 at 5 with 3 shutouts. I mean, he definitely wasn't good this year. That 3.40 goals against is maybe his worst of his career, which it is by a wide margin. That's actually really, really bad. And the .895 save percentage, also very bad. So I don't know. I mean, there's really not much goaltending out there to improve. And then you see Scott Wedgwood, who we do plan on bringing back. I mean, solid in 37 games with a .915 save percentage, 2.74 goals against. Pretty much like identical to his numbers last year in Dallas, as you see there. 915 against a 915 and then a 274 against a 272. And that's what we expect from him. We just expect him to be a solid backup. So I think we're going to bring him back. But Matt Murray, I don't know. We definitely need to look at improving our goaltending as we see Daniil Tarasov, who was a late call-up, and he didn't really do too well here in Hartford. Now we'll go over and see who led the way here in stats league-wide. And Braden Point overtakes Nikita Kucherov. Kucherov actually fell pretty far there with missing 3 games. But Braden Point is the leading points getter this season with 102. And Kirill Kaprizov is the only other player who eclipses 100 or reaches 100. And then followed by Leon Draisaitl, Nikita Kucherov, Nathan MacKinnon, Brad Marchand, Matt Barzal, Connor McDavid, who missed 7 games, Bo Horvat up there for the Islanders, Erik Karlsson leading all defensemen, Austin Matthews, 90 points, Pasta with 90 points, Stutzel, Mitch Marner. So the usual suspects here for the most part leading the league. Kyle Connor, Tarasenko having a great year there in Chicago as they're set for a playoff run. So I'll just scroll down here a little bit more. Now we're at 80, and then let's go for goals. Austin Matthews led the league with 48 goals. He scored a few against us this season, followed by Kucherov, 47, Ovechkin, 46. Braden Point is up there, the league leader in points. Quite ironic. McKinnon, Svechnikov, Connor McDavid eclipses 40 despite missing 7 games. Marchand, Kaprizov, Robertson, Tarasenko, Pasternak, Patrick Laine, the Whaler killer there with 38. I think 5 of them this season coming against us. Now leading in assists, we have 3 defensemen here. Erik Karlsson, the league leader in assists with 74. Adam Fox, 73, one behind Karlsson. Then Cale Makar, Leon Draisaitl leads all forwards with 65 as he ends the season with 99 points. Mitch Marner, probably a lot of those on those Austin Matthews goals. Matt Barzal, the best player on a very good Islanders team this season. Sam Reinhart's up there, Quinn Hughes. We see Point, Kaprizov, Stutzel, Gaudreau again. So the usual suspects here again. Ivan Barbashev up there with 54 assists. Sidney Crosby, Stamkos still relevant here late in their careers. So we already did points. We'll go over to plus minus. And Brandon Montour for Florida along there with Gustav Forsling. So they're probably one of the best defensive pairings here in year 1. Landeskog leads all forwards. Then we see Keandre Miller there, who was paired with Adam Fox most of the way. And Adam Fox and Miller were up towards the top at about the halfway point of the season. They kind of fell down a bit. Or at least Fox did. There he is at plus 33. Same with Ivan Provorov and Luke Shen for Columbus. Here we see Luke Shen. They were at the top. And there's Provorov. So they kind of stayed in that territory. Shot percentage. Braden Point, 20.8 on 207 shots. Nick Bastian for Toronto had a really good season. 10 game-winning goals. And that was tied for the league for Nathan Bastian. Along there with Alexander Barkov and Tarasenko, each with 10 game-winning goals, power play goals. Pasternak and Kucherov, the only players with more than 10. 22 power play points there for Kaprizov and Svechnikov. Zuccarello, Aho there. So Carolina and Minnesota with very productive players there on the power play, as Carter Verhaeghe is also in the 20-point power play point range as well. 3 shorthanded goals here for 4 different players. Defenseman Josh Manson, Zibanejad, Ryan Hartman, and Brad Marchand, all with 3 shorthanded goals. Who led the NHL in time on ice? Adam Fox, Drew Doughty, Erik Karlsson, Miro Heiskanen, Lindholm, Pulak, Makar, Carlson, McAvoy. Of course, all defensemen are going to be up here. Who's the leading forward? We got to scroll down a ways here. Still no one. Hey, we're still over 20 minutes, so there we go. Heinz. Upi Heinz for Dallas and Nick Suzuki right there leading the way for forwards in time on ice. And then face-off percentage. See Derek Ryan there took a little over 200 draws at 63.9%. It's phenomenal. Patrice Bergeron down here as well. I guess they played him at winger a lot if he's only taken 186 face-offs in 82 games. I don't know why you'd want Patrice Bergeron playing wing when he's one of the best face-off men in the league. Tays at 59.4%, and then Kopitar 59.3%. He's had far and away way more face-offs than anyone in this range. So we'll go with Kopitar as the league's face-off leader. And then Timo Meier leads in hits with 202. JT Miller right behind him as the only players with over 200 hits. But we see Scott Lawton, third in the league in hits. And then JT Compher here at 9th. So we don't have any league leaders other than hits, which I'll take, at least in year 1. Block shots, David Savard, of course, it's going to be mostly defensemen. 2 Canadians at the top, Savard and Matheson. And they're a bad team, so at least you have 2 guys willing to give up the body in a down season. Heiskanen, Doughty, Chabot, Rasmus Anderson, Dahlin. We'll just try and find a forward here who leads, or no. Yeah, who's going to lead in block shots among forwards? And again, like, time on ice, you got to go down a ways. I don't even know if it's worth scrolling anymore. Here we go. Andrew Mangiapane? Is that it? Oh no, he was up there. Andrew Mangiapane among forwards, leaders in block shots, but is it Nick Dowd then? It's gonna be Nick Dowd, huh? Nick Dowd with 36 block shots led forwards with Mangiapane 2 behind him. And then fights, it's gotta be Delorier. Yep, Nick Delorier led in fights, Tanner Ginott, and then Marcus Foligno, 3rd in the league in hits. So we do have another league leader there in fights. League leaders in hits and in fights. As now we'll go to goalies as Ilya Sorokin leads in wins, 41 wins. Great record there with a .922 save percentage, .236 goals against, and 7 shutouts, which I'm pretty sure led the league. But we'll go down the wins leaders a little bit here as Vasilevsky, always at the top there in recent seasons. Stuart Skinner, the young goaltender there in Edmonton. And it looks like they might have their guy there as they're set for a playoff run. Shesterkin, Tristan Jarry, Ilya Samsonov, all 35 at least. And then we'll go down to Vanasek, Connor Hellebuyck, Sergei Bobrovsky, who was traded to Buffalo. And he was traded to Buffalo and went 5-10-1, and he was awful there. So, interesting move there by Florida to trade away Bobrovsky in a playoff season, as it looked like he was their starting goaltender beforehand. So the trade logic here in NHL looks like it has to be improved, as we see Linus Ullmark there for Boston. They traded away Jeremy Swayman at the deadline. And I don't think we're going to see Matt Murray up there. League leaders in losses, Markstrom, as Calgary just totally gave up. I mean, he still had respectable numbers there at .903, .298. Like, not too bad. Not good, but not awful. Korpisalo, Jake Ottinger, Carter Hart, not a good season there in Philly. And then we see Matt Murray, 19, 29, and 5. Not too good. So let's see, and Sorokin did lead the league in shutouts, followed by Anton Forsberg with a surprisingly good season there in Ottawa. They kind of fell off, though, in the second half. Vasilevsky with 5, and then all these guys with 4. Skinner, Mrazek, Luukkonen, who was traded to Philly. He went to Philly and played 5 games, 3-1, and very good numbers there. So Luukkonen's a guy to look out for here, as he's set to hit the trade or the free agent market. Definitely not a long-term answer, but someone who can come in and maybe just provide a little upgrade there. And then save percentage. Ilya Sorokin, 9.22, led the league. Is there like a goalie triple crown or something? Because I think he's won it here. He's leading in every major category for goaltenders. As Varlamov, his backup, is right up there with him. So New York, their goaltending, really a big difference here for them in year one. Vasilevsky, Samsonov. Scott Wedgwood up there. You like to see that, 9.15. Frederick Anderson, decent year. His first season in Detroit, as they're also in the playoffs, I believe. Saros Linkins, Mrazek, Hellbuck. Looking in again, now goals against. And Tarasov, he's up there at the top, letting up almost 4 goals in per game in 4 games. Sorokin, leading in goals against there, followed by Vasilevsky. Varlamov's right there. Georgiev, Mrazek, Samsonov, Jeremy Swayman. Let's see how his numbers looked in LA. He was 6-5-2, 900 save percentage, over 3 goals against. So he went to LA and he wasn't too great there. But he's someone who's still on our radar if he hits the free agent market here in the next couple of years. Let's see goalie assists. Penalty minutes? Any goalie? Nope. No goalie penalty minutes. No goalie goals. We got to get 1 goalie goal here in this series. Then Skinner, Talbot, and Korpisalo all with 4 assists, followed by Kemper, who had 3. So what about rookie skaters? Let's just see how Bedard ended. And Bedard, a phenomenal rookie season here. Led all rookies in goals, assists, points, and plus minus, and probably everything else. 74 points here for Connor Bedard in his rookie season. 45 assists, 29 goals. And Luke Evangelista for Nashville actually outpaced Leo Carlson there at the end of the season and overtook him in points and goals and assists. So Carlson really did fall off there in the second half. And there's that second overall pick we talked about a couple episodes ago. Alexander Komatov for Anaheim. He was picked second overall, scores 20 goals in his rookie season, but only 29 points overall. Did we have any goalies, rookie goalies? Joseph Wall for Toronto and Sukard, both with very good records as backup goalies. And Hofer and Levy. Levy 8-3-1 there in Buffalo. I wonder why they didn't just play him more instead of trading for Bobrovsky. So those are the league leaders, and I guess now we'll take a look at the standings as we get a feel for this playoff picture. And we'll just look at the Metro since that is our division. Islanders paved the way the whole season, ending with 110 points, followed by the Rangers, who are always in it, and then Carolina and Columbus just eke out Pittsburgh, as Pittsburgh misses by 1 point there against Columbus. And they're not happy about that. And then Devils and Flyers weren't really in it. Neither were the Capitals, and especially us there at the bottom. The Atlantic, Florida, most points here in the East at 113, followed by Toronto, Tampa Bay, and Boston. And I'm sorry, Detroit didn't make the playoffs. They were out. So, the 4 teams you would expect to make it here in the Atlantic do, in fact, make the postseason for the Eastern Conference. In the Central, Colorado led with 103, followed by Winnipeg, and Chicago, who had a tremendous season there, led by Eric Bedard. And we'll see how deep they can go here in his first season. Minnesota and Nashville both at 90 points, making it in, as Dallas just misses with 88 points. And then there's Arizona and St. Louis. Now, the Pacific, Edmonton actually overtook Vegas late, as they both ended with 100 points, but Edmonton 1 more win. So they are Pacific Division champions, followed by Anaheim, who just ekes their way in with not much competition in the Pacific. So it actually was kind of easy for Anaheim, as they were 7 points ahead of San Jose, followed by just mediocre play from Vancouver, Los Angeles, and then Seattle and Calgary, who are the bottom 2 teams. So Calgary will have the number 1 shot at the number 1 pick here in the lottery, with Kraken right behind them. So since I had brought up goalies there as we were going over the stats, here's just a look at the free agent market. And like I said, it's nothing crazy. As you see, Marc-Andre Fleury here at the top. He'll be 40 next season, and he didn't really have a great year there in Minnesota as the backup. So he's not someone we would pursue. Then I want to say it's Laurent Brossoit. I want to say it's French dialect here, and he spent the season in the AHL despite pretty good showings there in Vegas in the past. So I don't know if we're not gonna go after someone in the AHL to be our starter. And then you see Matt Murray here, who didn't play well for us. So I don't know. He's a top 3 goalie on the market, according to this. Although right behind him is Luukkonen, who we were just talking about. And look at those numbers. I mean, 9/11 save percentage, 2.8 goals against, and 4 shutouts. Very good year there from the 25-year-old who is set to hit the free agent market. So, I mean, the Flyers did just trade for him. So I would assume they sign him because who knows what's going to happen with Carter Hart there. But who knows? If he hits the market, I think we're going to go after him. And then Capo Kakin I do kind of like, but he had a bad year there in San Jose on a bad team. And then just a couple more old guys, James Reimer, Brian Elliott, Cam Talbot, and then Scott Wedgwood not too far behind him, who we are going to, I'm almost positive Scott Wedgwood's going to be on this team. So nothing really of note there in the free agent market, and Luukkonen is really the only guy we would consider pursuing there. So I hope something opens up trade-wise. And before we do hit the playoffs here in Sim, I just want to go over some progress reports. We haven't checked this out at all so far. So we'll just start here in the NHL. There's not much of note, although Dmitry Orlov, he's regressing a little bit there, as you see. -1 in each puck kills category. And he's losing a couple there in defense, as well as some in physical. So we do have him signed for 2 more years. And I don't expect him to fall off too bad. Hopefully he can stay up there at like 84, 83 overall over these next 2 seasons. And then Leo Carlsson, you see 5 growth there in all his puck skills categories, which is huge. 1 point morale growth there for offensive awareness. 2 points in shooting, 1 for slap shot power, 1 for wrist shot power for morale growth. And then 1 natural growth face-off, 1 morale growth on defensive awareness. Endurance goes up 1, fighting skill goes up 1, although I don't think we're going to see him fighting at all, as well as durability. So some decent progression there from Leo Carlsson, although maybe I think we would have liked to see a little bit more. Now, Nolan Patrick, he gained 1 offensive awareness, but he'll lose 2 here, morale growth, so he's not happy. He is a restricted free agent, but I don't know. That's something we're going to think about. As you see, down at skating, he loses a lot as well, so he's just fallen off here. I think he was an 80 overall at one point, now down to a 79. So that's like all the attributes modified we're seeing here for NHL players. As we go to AHL, though, it goes up a lot as, you know, these are the guys who are going to be developing here. So our top development is Jeremy Hansel. He was a 5th-round pick last year. Or no, I think he was a 6th-round pick for us. And I don't think he has too much of a future, but it's nice to see him progressing nicely. Will Coyle, he scored for the Panthers in the last episode, and he was our expansion pick from the Rangers, and I do expect him to compete for some NHL playing time next season. So he's someone we're probably going to see in the preseason as a left wing power forward, 6'3", 204. And we'll just go down his attributes here. As you're seeing growth in almost everything there. In defense, 5 for shot blocking and stick checking. And then physical health, 5 for aggressiveness, body checking, and strength. So his defensive game and his physicality really coming along here. Graham Clark, he was our Devils expansion pick. 31 points here for Poughkeepsie. 3 points offensive awareness. Actually 4 because he got 3 from natural and then 1 from morale. Some growth there in shooting, defense, skating gets a couple bumps up, and then physical game. So Graham Clark developing quite nicely here as well, as he's at a 74 overall. This is Hunter Brzustowicz, our 2nd-round pick from our inaugural entry draft, playing in the OHL for the Kitchener Rangers. You see 3 natural growth there on puck skills for each category, 4 in offensive awareness, 2 in accuracy on each shot, 4 in defensive awareness, 3 on endurance. So not bad there from our right-handed defenseman, who's at a 72 overall. Someone will probably sign here in the next couple seasons, although I don't know if he'll open with the NHL club. Now, Samuel Bolduc, someone we looked at in the preseason, and he really didn't develop much here. Only a natural growth and a couple morale growths scattered through some categories. So hopefully he sees a little more progression next year. I thought he was going to maybe compete for a job on the roster, but I don't know if that's going to be the case based on his progression here in year 1. Jacob Perreault led our AHL team in goals with 23. He's someone we saw score in the last episode when we looked in at the Panthers. And he was our expansion pick from the Ducks, and not really seeing too much progression from him this year, despite a very productive season. And then we'll just look at our 2 goalies here. Scott Ratzlaff was our 3rd-round pick playing for the Seattle Thunderbirds. Not too great statistically, although, I mean, for the OHL, I guess that's not bad. And then he only saw 3 attributes go up by 1 point each, respectively. So not much development there from our goalie prospect. Now, Arthur Silovs was our primary goaltender in the AHL there, and you see his numbers, pretty great. And he did see a little progression as well, mostly from morale growth. So good thing we're keeping him happy, because naturally he's not developing too much. But he is someone who will probably open in the AHL next season as our starting, or actually he'll be with Daniil Tarasov, and they'll compete. I think Tarasov will get more run in the AHL next year than he did this year with his injuries. And now Daniil Chaika in 18 games with the Panthers there, 2 goals, 10 assists, plus 10. And only a little bit of development here, as Vegas wasn't even playing him on their AHL team for some reason, so he missed out on a bunch of playing time this year. And we'll wrap it up there. I won't go too much into that right now, as we'll jump into the playoffs now, and we'll get simming along here. I wonder what the playoff matchups are going to be. I didn't really look into that too much. Owner goals evaluated. Good job. We passed by being within 800,000 of player salary. I think we were like 18 million within it, so we should get a bonus on that one, Mr. Owner. And here we go at the bottom. We'll see Western Conference. We got the Oilers and the Minnesota Wild, Vegas Golden Knights and the Ducks, Avalanche and the Predators, Jets and the Blackhawks. And would it be better if I just... Can I bring up... Yes, here we go. And that's a look at the playoff tree. I just announced the West, and now East. We got Rangers, Hurricanes, Islanders, Bruins, Maple Leafs, Lightning, Panthers, Blue Jackets. So should I just go ahead and do some predictions here? Why not? I'm going to say Blackhawks win, Colorado, Vegas, Edmonton in the West. And then I'll go Rangers, Bruins, Maple Leafs, Panthers. Let's see how that goes for me. And now we'll just sim ahead here, as I wish there was a better way to do this, but I guess you're just going to have to pay attention here on the bottom as it shows the teams, and as we sim along, it'll update wins as we go along. So there we go. Minnesota opens with a win, and Colorado, then Florida and Boston. We'll just do a few here at a time. So after 2 games, Minnesota up 2-0 on Edmonton, who finished the top of their division, and then every other division there, or every other matchup there, is tied at 1. And then in the East, they're all 2-0, as Florida's up 2-0, Lightning, Hurricanes, and Bruins. So only 3 series split here through 2 games in the playoffs, all of which coming in the Western Conference, which was definitely the most, competitive conference. There we go. It was the more competitive conference this year, as Oilers get one there. And then Florida up 3-0 now against Columbus, as they look for a sweep. And I did forget, our Poughkeepsie Panthers are in the AHL playoffs, as they're coming off 2 wins, an overtime win and a 4-1 win. They did drop game 1 4-3. So I guess we'll just live sim this, or not live sim, but live simulate this one as we look to advance in the playoffs. Nothing after the first period. We're up 2-1. Goal from Will Coyle. There he is on Jonathan Quick there in the AHL for Syracuse Crunch. Wow. And Arthur Silovs is going to defeat Jonathan Quick here in the AHL postseason. Who saw that one coming, as Klapka, 2 late goals there. Silovs 25 saves, a really good performance from him. And Poughkeepsie's going to advance. That's what we like to see. Now we'll get back to the NHL playoffs, as Florida swept Columbus 4-0. And then 2-1 Carolina, New York, 2-1 Toronto, Tampa Bay, Boston up 3-1 on the Islanders. And still pretty even Steven there in the West. The West, yeah, still going strong, is now two matchups there even in the East still, and 3-2 Boston. So one more for now, as Toronto up 3-2. New York up 3-2. Boston wins against New York Islanders. So far we're 2 for 2 on our picks. Or actually, yeah, we're 2 for 2. As now Edmonton evens it up against the Minnesota. So they'll have a Game 7. Colorado advances against Nashville. And Vegas up 3-2. Winnipeg up 3-2. As now we'll go back. And we won't do that quite yet. We'll if we advance to the next round, we'll live simulate the rest of our AHL games. All right, we'll keep rolling along here. As Vegas took the series win there. So now I have a Game 7 for Winnipeg, Chicago as well. And 2 Game 7s here in the East. So 2 Game 7s in each conference. Toronto, Tampa Bay, New York, Carolina. Edmonton, Minnesota, Winnipeg, Chicago. As Edmonton comes back in that series. And we're perfect so far, folks. We're a perfect 4 for 4 so far. Chicago wins. Chicago advances there against Winnipeg. Let's see in the East. Tampa Bay beats Toronto and Carolina beats New York. So we got one wrong there in Tampa Bay. I thought, well, why would I think Toronto would win a playoff series against Tampa Bay? What was I thinking? And then I don't remember what we said for Carolina and New York. So now we'll go back to the AHL, see how so we do fall down 2-1 in this series against the Utica Comets. As we'll sim ahead here in the NHL playoffs. Because I think we won. We won 5-1, so a good bounce back after losing 5-1. So the first game here, Florida, Boston, Chicago, Vegas. Wouldn't it be something if Chicago won in their first year? Why not? We'll tune into our Poughkeepsie Panthers here as they face elimination. Nothing after the first period, only 4 shots on goal. And we get 2 there from Will Coyle, who is the star of this episode. Power play goal there on Schmid. And then another one a few minutes later. And then we take this one 3-0 to go from Daniil Chaika, the star from our previous episode. So 2 young guys we're kind of leaning on here. And Will Coyle, 2 goals, 1 assist, 5 hits. And Silas with a shutout here facing elimination. We should just make this a Poughkeepsie Panthers series. How about that, folks? And of course, we'll get a live looking at that Game 5 there in the AHL as both matchups here in the West now even up. And both matchups there in the East evened up. So a great playoff series here so far. So now we'll go over and check out this Game 5. This another elimination game here for our Poughkeepsie Panthers against the Utica Comets of the New Jersey Devils, I believe. See if Will Coyle can keep his strong play going. 1 goal allowed there in the first, a shorthanded goal there to Stevens. As we get one there in the first from Damiani. So I actually will let this one play out. I didn't expect to be looking in at a Poughkeepsie Panthers game here, but they are in the playoffs and they are looking to advance here in a winner-take-all game as Graham Clark, the former Utica Comet himself, puts Poughkeepsie ahead here in a revenge game for Graham Clark. Less than 5 minutes now. And Poughkeepsie's going to advance. Graham Clark with the game-winning goal against his former squad, and Silas with another strong performance. Like I said, maybe we should just make this one a Poughkeepsie Panthers series, and they're going to face the Providence Bruins, I believe. And we'll sim ahead a few as Edmonton and Colorado each up 2-1. And then Tampa Bay and Boston each up 2-1. So we'll just let the first couple of the AHL play out as Jacob Perreault suffers an injury, or their top goal scorer. But we do win Game 1, 4-1. All right, we'll go back here to the NHL. Colorado and Edmonton now each up 3-1, as well as Tampa Bay, Carolina, Boston, the only game that's even, only series that's even. And then Edmonton's going to take it in 5 games. Edmonton takes down Vegas. And then every other series here tied up 3-2 as Parole is now available again for Poughkeepsie. We'll sim ahead one more. So it's going to be Colorado, Edmonton, and Tampa Bay, Boston here in the finals for each conference. As Poughkeepsie suffers 2 shutouts, and they are now down 2-1 in this series. Now we'll go over and we'll take a live look at these remaining games. Well, not a live look, you know what I mean. The live sims here, as it is a best of 7 in the conference finals for the AHL. So we'll jump into this one with a simulate, as we've been doing for our Poughkeepsie playoff run. We will go up 2-1 after the first, which we needed after being shut out in 2 in a row. Now 3-3 after the second, as we'll coil with another one in this episode. But we will give up 5 there. Wow. Sealoft surrenders 7 goals in this game, as Poughkeepsie now falls 3-1 in the series. Now we'll jump back and for a couple here in the NHL. Check out who leads the conference finals. Edmonton and Tampa Bay jump out with a 1-0 lead. And we'll just let this one simulate for no, we gotta go back to it. I keep hitting the calendar instead of simming. Here we go. So let's see if Providence can put together 3 straight wins here and advance to the Calder. Is it the Calder Finals? I know it's the Calder Trophy, I think, in the AHL Championship. But Coyle and Clark there in the first period. And we get 3 more to go up 5-0. And we will get another one there as we win 6-2 to stave off elimination here. We'll jump back to the NHL real quick. Sim these last 2 as Edmonton up 2-0 and Tampa Bay, Boston tied at 1. So just 2 more games here for Poughkeepsie to reach the finals as we fall 1-0 there in the first. And then we'll let this third period play out as we're down 3-2 in this series. We need to come back here and get a win if we want to stay alive. And Providence gets one there on the power plays. We'll need to get 2 here in the last 10 minutes. Now less than 5 minutes. And it looks like the Poughkeepsie Panthers playoff run will come to an end. But what a run it was here in year 1 for our AHL Poughkeepsie Panthers, and they sure gave us a lot to be excited about. So with that conclusion from our Poughkeepsie Panthers, we can now just stick here in the NHL as we'll sim along here the remainder of this playoff and wrap up this episode. Edmonton up 3-0 now in Colorado. Still 2-1 there for Boston. Wow, Edmonton sweeps Colorado, and the Oilers will head to the Stanley Cup final. Boston now up 3-1 on Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay wins Game 5 there, making it 3-2. See if they can force a Game 7, and they will not, as Boston and Edmonton will be the Stanley Cup final here in year 1, just as everybody predicted. So now we'll send this Stanley Cup final featuring the Edmonton Oilers and Boston Bruins. And Edmonton takes Game 1 5-1, making a statement there. They're just getting hot here at the right time, it seems. And then they'll take Game 2 there 3-2, and you can see the scores are on the top right of the screen. And now Edmonton wins 3-2 again, and now they're up 3-0 on Boston. And I'm pretty sure they swept Colorado. So what a monumental effort right now for Edmonton. As we'll sim ahead a couple more in Boston, we'll get a game they'll win 4-3. So Edmonton not going to get the sweep here in the Stanley Cup. So at most only 3 games left here of this NHL season, as I apologize if my transitions and segues haven't been the cleanest in this episode. Since we're simming ahead a lot, I've been having to stop from recording audio and then having to do my scouting. For those who play NHL franchise, you know scouting is a very tedious process, so I'm not going to eat up the video time doing that. So now we'll get back to it as we'll sim and see if Edmonton can close out this Stanley Cup final, and they do, as the Edmonton Oilers are 2024 Stanley Cup champions. Connor McDavid gets his first ring there as he looks to cement himself among the greatest of all time, if not already. And then you see the Calder Cup. There we go. Calder Cup champions, San Diego Gulls. But don't worry, Poughkeepsie will be there soon enough. And to close this episode, we'll just check out some playoff stats. I mean, McDavid had to put together some crazy run. 27 points in 21 games. Not too crazy. You might expect more, but still a tremendous effort there from him nonetheless. Kucherov led in goals in 19 games. And we won't get into any of these players. Tyler Bertuzzi there, 20 assists. What about, we'll just check out goalies and see wins and shutouts. Stuart Skinner, a phenomenal run there in the playoffs, 9-2-3, 2-3-4. And then Olmark just did not get it done. Under 900 save percentage, and maybe they should have kept Swayman around. Still do advance to the Cup, but Stuart Skinner, an Oilers legend after his terrific regular season, and now 13-4 in the postseason. No shutouts to his credit. No goalie had more than one. As that's going to put a bow here on this 2023-2024, there you see, season. And next episode, we're going to kick it into full gear as we head into the offseason. And we're going to start with the NHL Draft in the next episode, as we'll have our draft lottery, as I'll scroll down the board here, as you can check out some prospects we're going to see. And you see the eyelids there to the left of some noting players on our board. So yeah, we're gonna have the 4th or 5th best odds for the number 1 pick. So that's something to surely keep an eye out for, as we're gonna start the episode with the NHL Draft, but before that we will have the NHL Draft Lottery occur to see where we're gonna end up in the draft. So this is where I'm gonna leave you, folks. Thank you for bearing with me. I hope you enjoyed this season wrap-up episode, and then we kind of got to sim through the playoffs and see how our Poughkeepsie Panthers were doing there in the AHL. So as always, folks, thank you so much for watching, and I invite you to definitely check out that off-season episode, as we're going to make a lot of big moves to really propel this team forward into the playoff push. So it's been real, everybody, and as always, be well. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.